AnneMarie Chany of Gen X Quilters and the author of Sisters Sampler Quilts. We've put together a series of basic video tutorials for you on quilting basics. Whether you're a beginner or an advanced quilter who needs a refresher, I hope you'll use these videos to help inspire your next quilt. We've done flying geese in a separate piece. This one, we're going to do that same flying geese unit again, but we're going to use a different method that makes 4 units at a time and has no waste that you have to throw away. Nobody likes to throw away extra fabric, so this will save us from having to do that. If you need a lot of geese and you need them in the same colors, this is a great method to use. Now here's the flying goose unit. Again, it's a rectangular unit that has 2 triangles on either side of the rectangle. To start off making this unit, we have 1 large square and 4 smaller squares. Now the math is a little bit more complicated on this one, so let me make sure I explain this to you correctly. We need to first figure out what are the finished dimensions of your flying goose unit. Once you know your width and your length of your finished unit, to make your smaller squares, you'll take the width of that finished unit and add 7/8. That's what size you want to cut 4 of your squares for using this method. The large square, you'll need to figure out the length of your finished goose unit and add 1 1/4 inches to that dimension. Once you do that, we're ready to go. So I've got my pieces cut ahead of time, and I've gone ahead and drawn a diagonal line across all 4 of my blocks. To start off, we'll take 2 of them and line them up in opposing corners of the large square, just like this. You want to make sure that these squares overlap just a little bit. They are supposed to, and that will ensure you've got all your cuts at the right dimensions with that complicated math that we did there. So we'll pin these pieces together. And now we're ready to sew. Okay, we're ready to sew the first part of this no waste flying geese unit. We're going to take our piece and line it up in our machine, making sure that we're going to sew 1/4 inch away from the drawn line. There we go. Now as you come to the piece where the 2 pieces cross, just make sure that they're lying flat. Drop that pin out of there. There. Now we've sewn on one side. We'll go back and stitch on the opposite side of the line. Do the same thing all over again. There we go. Now you can see the stitching on either sides of the drawn lines, and now we can cut and press these units. In this next step, let's separate the 2 units by cutting on the line. I'll take my ruler and place it on the drawn line in between the 2 stitching lines. Then we'll cut across the whole piece, making sure we got all the way through. There. Now it's separated into 2. And we can press these pieces open. Just kind of open them up. It's a really awkward shape, having the one triangle with the 2 little other ones hanging off. But we'll see how we can turn it into our geese unit in a second here. So you press that. And remember, I'm only doing 1, but there's 2 of these. Now, we have this strange looking unit, and we'll take one of our remaining squares and put it in this one corner of the triangle that's left. Make sure you align the diagonal that way, and we'll pin that in place. Okay, now we're ready to go back and sew again. Okay, let's sew the remaining 2 seams for this block. We have our strange triangle shaped piece here with our other square pinned in the corner. We'll take it and we're going to sew a 1/4 inch away from the drawn line. It's a little tricky at the start since you have to do it at the intersection of those strange triangle pieces. Just make sure you start slow. Do that one seam. Trim it up, the strings, that is, and we'll go back and do it on the other side. Okay, now our sewing's done and we're ready to go back to cutting and pressing again, but that will finish up our goose. And for our last step of making these flying geese units, we're going to cut on the line. And then when you separate them and press them open, there's your flying goose unit. We'll go press these over here. But it's a really simple technique to use to not have any waste if you like them all the same color. In this case, there are a couple of these dog ears to trim off. So that's really simple. We'll just trim those off real quick. You can do that on both units. And then when all is said and done, you have 4 units that are all the same size. And that's it. So it's a really quick method you can use to make a bunch of them for a bigger quilt. I hope you enjoy it. Thank you.